Welcome to StoryTime with Stephanie, a platform for independent authors to share their stories of transformation, self-help, education, and sometimes pure entertainment. Want to grow with us on this journey and support these up and coming authors? Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. I'm your host, Stephanie Outen, the literary doula. Are you ready for the show? Let's do this. Hello, and welcome to Storytime with Stephanie. I am your host, Stephanie Outen, and I am so grateful to be back with you all today. We are in season 8, y'all. Can you believe it? And today we have another amazing guest, and I am so excited to have her here with us today. Tamara Hamil is a passionate author, mother, and advocate for healing and personal growth. With a compelling story of overcoming profound medical trauma and emotional wounds, she uses her voice to empower others to reclaim theirs. Her journey of survival and transformation has led her to become a sought-after speaker on faith, mental health, personal development, and generational healing. Tamara's message is rooted in truth, faith, and purpose. She believes healing begins with breaking cycles, and her story is a testimony that restoration is always possible. She is the author of Breaking Cycles, Reclaiming Power After Pain, and I'm excited to have her here with us today. Tamara, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
How are
Thank you
you?
so much, Stephanie, for that introduction. I am well. I am blessed. Humbly blessed.
Excellent. We are so glad to have you with us. I want to share a little bit about the book, and then we're going to just start having conversation in regards to your story and kind of what compelled you to share your story at this point in time. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, Breaking Cycles is a powerful, transparent, and transformative journey of healing, identity, and resilience. After surviving 2 brain surgeries and navigating emotional and generational trauma, Tamara offers readers an unfiltered glimpse into what it means to reclaim your voice, peace, and power. Each chapter starts with a signature quote and unfolds with raw insight, empowering readers to recognize patterns, confront inner wounds, and ultimately break cycles of pain, fear, and silence. This isn't just a memoir, it's a movement of hope, accountability, and personal transformation. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's just get into it, Tamara. I want to hear what compelled you to share your story and tell us a little bit about some of the medical challenges that you experienced that brought you to the place of saying, "Whoo, this is my life, and I have to be able to share it to help someone else."
Well, thank you. Thank you for that question in itself. I will tell you that Breaking Cycle is my second book. It's
Okay.
a follow up to my memoir, which I released and wrote in 2018. It took me honestly 10 years to write that book in
Okay.
itself. And so this is a follow up to that book because Backbone, which is the title of that book is called Backbone, from Terror to Triumph, Taking Control of My Destiny. That was I would say, my coming out moment for me because I was raped as a child. I was raped at 7 years old. Was
Wow.
my first encounter of child molestation and abuse.
Mm,
And I grew up in a family that their name matters more than the care of a child.
mm,
I remember when I was coming home from the hospital with my parents, and my sister at the time, who was 5 years old, was sitting beside me in the car. And I remember my parents saying, "Do not mention what happened to you to anyone." And I couldn't understand why.
mm.
And so living with that trauma in itself as a child, um, you don't know what traumas are. You don't know what abandonment issues look like. And so I grew up with that. And at 9 years old, I was attacked again and molested
Oh my
by
goodness.
a family member. And my last attack of someone trying to attack me to, of course, molest me was in high school.
Mhm.
And I remember waking up, I was a senior in high school. I remember waking up the next day and it was all over the papers.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, is this my life? And so I went through a period in my life where I didn't feel that I was enough. I didn't
Mm,
know what that was. I didn't love myself. I didn't know what love was.
yeah,
And so for me, I was seeking love, not so much from the parents that did not give me the nurture and the care that they should, but I
right.
was seeking love outside of that. I think
Mhm.
I tell people all the time that, the only thing I didn't do was drink and smoke.
Wow.
I don't believe in drinking and I don't believe in smoking. I didn't become, to be completely transparent, because I want to be completely transparent about my message. I was not out there in the world.
Mhm.
I wasn't my body and so forth. But what I was doing was seeking attention
Mhm.
and validation from
Yeah.
unwarranted places.
Mm.
And so I'm getting older in life, and I met my husband when I was 19 years old.
Okay.
And we're still together 31 years later, been married for coming up next month 26 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. There were times, even during my relationship with my husband, I was struggling.
Mhm.
Him touching me, I was just like, I don't know, and
Yeah.
all of those different things. And I got married very young. I got married at 25 years old,
Mm.
but I didn't know what that was. But I knew something was off. I know something mentally was not right within my spirit,
Right.
within how I was looking at life, the outcome, the fact that I would want others to be like, oh, you're doing a good job, and so forth. And so I tried to go to counseling
Okay.
and so forth, but I could not find a psychologist
Mhm.
that not only looked like me,
Mhm.
but at the same time was able to dive into what mental health looked like.
Mm.
And I find psychiatrists, and I know there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And it was, oh, we're going to put you on this, we're going to put you on that. And I'm like, no, I don't need you to diagnose me or put
Yeah.
me on drugs
Right.
to kill what I'm already, feel like I am. I need help. I need to learn how to heal. And
Mm.
so what I did, when I couldn't find it, I told myself, you know what? Then I'm going to learn and figure out how to treat myself. So I went back to
Mm.
school,
Okay.
and I went and got my master's and my PhD in psychology.
Oh, excellent. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. And so that was what I did for me, because I was just like, I need to heal me. I
Mm.
need to figure out how. And to be completely honest with you, Stephanie, when I was in my dissertation, I wrote my dissertation on cognitive behavior
Okay.
with a focus on behavioral studies.
Mhm.
And I was in it, and I remember turning in a paper to my professor, and he called me up and said, I'm not grading this paper. And I go,
Mm.
wait, what? Come again? You're not grading my paper. Why? And
Right.
he goes, we need to meet. We need to talk. And so I didn't know what that means and where he was coming from.
Mhm.
I go, what do we need to talk about? Dude, you're my professor. Like, mark my
Right.
paper, And I met with him, and he said, His exact word was, "What is this?" And I was thrown off.
About your dissertation? What is this?
What is this? And I said, "It's my paper. Is it not good? Like, what's going on?" And he said, "Let's have a deep dive. Let's talk. Do you mind opening up and talking candidly?" And I said, "Okay." But I was looking at him side eye. I was looking at him
Hmm.
weird, like, "Okay, what does this? Where is he going with this?" And he said, "I feel that this paper, you're a broken child." And I'm looking at
Woo.
him like, "I'm an adult. Are you calling me a kid right now?"
Oh.
And in that moment,
Mm.
my emotions went into fighting mode.
Of course.
But here is what we don't pay attention to at times. Not everything is an attack when
Yeah.
someone is being truthful.
Mhm.
And so I grew up in a very strict household where your elders, you're supposed to have respect for them.
Mhm.
And so in that moment, I realized that I was getting heated. And I was just like, "Okay, girl, calm down and bring it
Mhm.
back to earth. Ask him, where is he coming from?" And
Yeah.
so I looked at him and I said, "Okay, let's elaborate. You want me to be honest with you? Let's talk about this." And he said, "Your paper seems as if you're broken and you need to heal. What
Mm.
you're talking about in the paper when it comes to cognitive behavior and discipline, it seems as if you're telling a story than the actual paper."
Mm.
And it was in that moment, I was
Oh.
just like, "Oh my gosh." It was like a light bulb went off
Yeah.
in my head, in my spirit, and I started to weep. I started crying, and just everything. It was like a river of water started flowing
Mm.
out of me.
So let me ask you this. So you had sought out some form of therapy. You were not able to find what you needed, so you went back to school so that you could become for someone else what you needed and didn't get. And in the process of doing your dissertation, rather than it being graded, your professor tells you that you're a broken little child and you're writing a story rather than a research paper or about cognitive behavior. And
Exactly.
so I'm going to imagine that where you're going to go next is where everything clicked for you and that's where your healing journey began.
That's exactly where my healing journey
Yeah.
started. It
Mm.
was a light bulb that went off. He didn't mark the paper. I went back. I literally had to go back all the way
Yeah.
back
Ooh.
to the ground and start writing. And in that moment, I was just like, "Wow, okay, it's me. I need to figure out how to heal me." And I reached out a
Mm.
couple days after to my parents and said to them, I called my mom up first and I said, I remember as a child, I was coming home when I first got raped. And instead of you guys helping me as a child, I didn't know that throughout all these years that I was battling up what happened to me, internalizing it. Why didn't you get me help? Was my
Wow.
exact words. And my mom said to me, if you're looking for an apology, just know that you will not get it from me because
Woo.
I didn't give birth to you. Or she said, you didn't give birth to me, I gave birth to you.
Oh.
And Stephanie, it took everything in me at that moment to utter these words to my mom.
Mm.
I said, you know what? Thank you,
Mm.
but I forgave you.
Yeah.
I said, I forgive you not for you,
Yeah.
but I forgive you for me
Mm.
because you will not define my outcome.
That's right.
I called my dad and actually flew my dad from New York to Arizona and had a very heart to heart conversation with him and went through everything. He was a little bit more compassionate,
Mm.
sympathetic,
Mhm.
empathetic, but very stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
Mhm.
So during breaking cycle, not breaking cycle, but during
Your first book?
Backbone, my first book, Backbone, it was a book of healing me. And I start journaling. I always journal, but I start
Mhm.
journaling more. And said, you know what? There's young girls out there
Yeah.
that is going through the same thing and don't have a voice.
Mhm.
How can I use my story to give them a voice?
Yeah.
And so at that moment, it wasn't even just about me. It was now about my children because I have a
Mhm.
daughter and I have a son.
Mhm.
It was not so much about my daughter more than anything else because I was very overprotective of my daughter.
Of
I
course.
never wanted, and I had a
Mm.
fear of
Yeah.
what happened
Mm.
to me happening to
Yeah.
her. I was very protective of her. But I was
Rightfully so.
also, yes, but I was very
Mm.
also protective of my son
Mhm.
because in our culture, I grew up where if a boy broke their virginity at
Mhm.
13, oh, you're coming into manhood, you're a man.
Of
No,
course.
boys get raped too. And
Yes.
so I positioned the book around more so both men and women. It was now at a platform of giving everyone a voice. And
Mm.
so Backbone was my healing.
Mm.
Breaking Cycle came about from Backbone. It's a spin-off,
Okay.
but the transition for Breaking Cycle is what happened after you heal.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
does that look like?
Mm.
How that journey came about, and how do you sustain that journey? How
Mhm.
do you remain consistent now
Mhm.
in that journey? So that's how breaking cycles came about, because in the book I talked about my brain surgeries, and in breaking cycles is the first time I'm releasing the pictures from my brain
Mm.
surgery,
Wow.
because my brain surgery was a part of my abuse. It was a beating that I got from my stepmom at 9 years old. They
Wow.
broke my nose, kept me out of school for 2 months, tried to reset it on their own. And so, as a child, you're growing up, you don't know that
Wait, your
over,
family tried to reset the broken nose themselves?
yep, instead of taking me to the hospital because they did not want the cops to be involved.
Wow.
Yes,
That's a cover up if I've ever heard one. Oh my
yes,
god.
yes.
Wow.
And so this is the first time in Breaking Cycles I'm releasing the pictures of that. And so I ended Backbone with my first brain surgery and what happened.
Mm.
And my follow up to Breaking Cycles talk about brain surgery number two, which happened in 2019. When I went in 2015 for my first brain surgery, I remember Dr. Marco Marsala, and I could use his name because he gave me the permission to do
Okay.
so, one of the top neurosurgeon here in Arizona. And he looked at me and he said, "You've never been in a car accident. Your brain surgery, we're not understanding. No one goes through this without some type of trauma." And
Right.
he looked at me and he said, "I'm going to ask you this question. Please don't take it personal, but I do have to ask." He said, "Is your husband abusing you?"
Oh, wow.
And I
Mm.
said, "Wait, what? Hold up, wait, what? My
Wow.
husband?" I said, "You think I'm going to stay with a man that's
Right.
beating me?" And he
Woo.
goes, "Well, your condition is not normal." And I said, I'm sitting in his office and I'm going, I don't understand. What do you mean? And in every neurosurgeon's office, they have the skeleton of
Mhm.
all different, biology and so forth, different organs and so forth. And he brought it out in front of him and he said, "This is what I'm looking at." He said, "This bone right here in
Mhm.
your right cheek, that bone is completely deteriorating. Your brain tissue is coming down to your skull."
Oof.
I said, "Wait, what?" And I was in denial, to be honest with you.
Now, were you having some type of symptoms that made you seek out medical? Okay, what were some of the things that were happening to you that made you say, "Let me go get this checked out"?
I was having headaches
Mm.
where I constantly have to be in a room that was completely dark.
So similar to migraines.
Yes.
Mm.
And I couldn't understand it. I was just like, this doesn't make sense. I was popping pills like no other. I would go through a bottle of Excedrin almost a day,
Oh my God.
literally.
That was not healthy either.
Yes. And couldn't understand. I was just like, okay, what is going on? This doesn't make sense.
Mm.
And I happened to be in a meeting,
Mm.
and all of a sudden, I leaned over to the table, and it was like someone poured water on my head. And I was in a meeting with the CFO, CEO, and head of HR
Oh my
because of
God.
my job. And I was just like, this is embarrassing. And I'll never forget. The CEO looked at me and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was embarrassed.
Mm.
And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you excuse me for a moment?" And I got up to go to the restroom and they're
Mhm.
giving me tissue to wipe it up and everything. I'm like, what is this? Had no idea that I was leaking CSF
It was coming out of your nose?
coming out of my nose. Yeah. And so I went
Ooh.
to the doctor, and the doctor at the time that I went to first misdiagnosed me and told me that I had the female version of the migraine headache, which was the female version of the male. And I'm
Mm.
an educated person. I looked at that doctor and I said, "Excuse me, come again?" And he said, what do you do?" And I said, "Actually, I have a degree in psychology."
Mhm.
And he goes, "Oh, so you're one of those educated one."
Oh,
I said, "What does that mean?"
wow.
He said, "Okay, you're an educated patient. You can't make this up." And I said, "Okay." He said, "We're going to do an EEG." And I said, "That's going to come back normal, right? I know what an EEG is." And he
Wow.
goes, "Yeah, you don't know that." And I said, "Okay, I'll go with what you say. I'll do
Mhm.
it." And so I did, came back normal. And I went into his office and he said, "I'm going to put you on some medication." I have a lot of doctors in my family. And I remember calling up my sister and I said, "This is what," she said, "Don't take those. Do not."
Mm.
And I looked at him. It was so embarrassing. I won't lie. I cursed him out in his office. I said, "You
I
know
don't
what?
blame you.
You're an idiot." I said, "I question you, but what happened to the patients
Yeah.
that are not asking questions and you're misdiagnosing them?" I said, "You know who will know about this? The
Mhm.
Arizona Board of
Yes,
Medical." And I did. They put him on a
absolutely.
1 year probation.
Oof.
They did an investigation, put him on 1 year probation. So Dr. Marsala found out what was going on. And when
Mm.
I was sitting in his office and we went through all that, he said, "This is what I'm showing, this bone, and so forth." And I said, "Dr. Marcella, the only thing I could think about was at 9 years old, my stepmom beat me and they broke my nose. I
Mm.
remember couldn't see out of this eye, which was
God.
my right eye. I remember my face swelling and they tried to set my nose." And I've never seen a doctor got up and said, "That's it."
Oh my
And I
God.
said, "That's what?" And he
Wow.
said, "That's it." He goes, "They try to fix it, but because the bone was not connected over
Mm.
time, it started deteriorated. And this is why." And so I went through brain surgery. I was on that table for 6 hours and 45
Wow.
minutes. Yeah.
Whew. And you had to endure two brain surgeries to finally correct, which I'm assuming now everything is corrected and you're okay.
Yes.
Um, you had to endure two brain surgeries from
Yes.
something that happened to you at 9 years old, an abuse that happened at 9 years old, and now here you are, you've gone through this place of, you're going through your healing journey. You've forgiven your parents, which is literally the first step in healing. You have to forgive not just yourself, but you have to forgive those who have harmed you as well. Now you go through this process of having to have these two brain surgeries. Did you ever at any point, especially after you revealed to the doctor that your nose was broken at 9 years old, did you kind of have to go back now and relive that experience and then feel those same feelings that you would have felt for your stepmother and those who tried to reset your nose back then, those feelings of resentment and anger and frustration for what they did?
Absolutely. I wrote my stepmom.
Hmm.
When I found out, I wrote her and let her know what I was going through,
Mm.
what they did to me, and the fact that I forgave them. I
Mm.
did. Um, but in that moment of doing all of that, I was struggling inside internally.
Mhm.
My first brain surgery, I didn't want to accept it. I couldn't. My only illness in life was really giving birth to two kids. I
Wow.
was never a person. I'm very homeopathic. I take care of my body.
Mhm.
um, Mentally was where mentally and emotionally was where I struggled.
Mhm.
Physically
Yeah.
was not something where, oh my goodness, you're this, you're that, you need to do all of these healing process. It's the mental.
Right.
But I was so much codependent on my
Mm.
children that I didn't realize how much I was not healing who I was. And then that triggered.
Right.
Here is the thing, I didn't even understand what triggers were. I didn't know what triggers were.
Wow.
And so during that entire process, reliving everything was very, very hard.
Absolutely.
Um, but I had to, in
Mm.
order to break free from
Yeah.
everything
Mm.
that was going on. So I did. I let them know what was going on, and forgave them,
Mm.
for it. And it was more now of building a relationship with myself.
Mm.
But in order to build a relationship with who I was and am, I had to figure out my purpose
Mm.
and why God created me. And so I struggled spiritually
Okay.
with, did you bring me into this world to have me suffer?
Mm.
And so I start lashing out at God. I start saying things like, there's no love. God is not real. How could he be?
Mm.
And those were things I struggled with from a child. But there was a time where I realized that God was real. But then
Absolutely.
this took me back where I was just like, okay, I thought you were real.
Mm.
I was loving you. I was having faith. But how? you
Yeah.
know,
And
you,
that's not uncommon, right? Especially when you have experienced so much trauma, and you experience trauma at 7, trauma at 9, trauma again at the in your senior year of high school.
Mhm.
It's not uncommon to feel like, God, like, where are you in this? You can't quite possibly be in the midst of all of this, and you see this happening to your daughter who has loved you, who has, professed you as her Lord and Savior, and now here it is, these things keep happening to me.
Mhm.
Um, and there are so many other people who feel exactly the same way.
Yeah.
So, what were some of the things that you had to do to come to the realization that God was still there? He still did love you. He was there in the midst of the trauma. What were
Yeah.
some of the things that you had to do to get to that realization?
I had to deep dive, Stephanie, in that moment, and it was a spiritual cleanse. I
Mhm.
had to do an honest come to Jesus moment in spiritual cleansing. I had to go back to the basics.
Mm,
I really did. I went back to the basics and start re-examining everything that I could remember from my childhood all the way up to that phase and stage of my life. I start looking at the things I was doing
mm,
out there in the world and was what was not pleasing. And you know what really got me going? I decided to reread the Bible because
mm,
growing up I was in church because I grew up Baptist, and then when my husband and I got married we went Pentecostal, and then we went non-denominational for a while, then we joined the Mormon church, and we
mhm,
raised our kids Mormon, and then left the Mormon church because there was so much that I didn't agree with it. So I was looking at so many and going through so many different religions in
mm,
itself. And so I have a good foundation of godly principles.
mhm,
I have a good foundation of knowing how to pray.
mm,
I had a good foundation of really knowing that God was real, but I was also caught up in my emotions. And
mm,
so I went back to the drawing board and I said, you know what, let me go back and read the Bible. But this time, there's a difference. And I say this very boldly and loudly. There's a difference with reading the Bible, and there's a difference with studying the Word.
absolutely.
I read the Bible before.
Yeah.
This time I was studying the Word. I
Mhm,
was diving more into cross referencing
mm,
different scriptures, having a better understanding,
yeah.
having a come to Jesus moment with myself and
Mhm,
with my Savior.
mm,
And that's what brought me truly through my healing journey. I stopped seeking validation. I start seeking even acceptance and was just like, you know what, girl? I need you to move to the beat of your own drum.
mm.
Move to the beat of your own drum. You're
And you had to figure
living
out, what
in,
did that sound like? You had to figure out, what does my drum even sound like? What does the
yeah,
beat sound like?
exactly. I
Mm,
was moving to everybody's
yeah.
motion
Mm,
and portion than my own.
mm,
And so that was what my breakthrough was.
okay.
In my book, I in this book, I touched on so many different things. I started the book out with my second brain surgery
Mhm,
and released the pictures, of course, of both
right.
and what was going on. But my second chapter in the book was about mental slavery, right? There's a
Mm,
lot of times we are so caught up by words, which is exactly why
mhm,
I don't use the fact that I'm a doctor behind my name,
right.
right? Because people tend to treat you differently by title versus
Absolutely.
you as a human being. And I'm very
Mhm.
intentional
Yes.
about those things. I'm very intentional about how I show up and what I want people to see. And I
Yeah.
don't get caught up by titles. That's nothing for me.
Mm,
And so, in order to break cycles, I first need to understand how to break it for myself. And so, in mental slavery, I've heard that word so many times. Marcus Messiah Garvey talk about mental slavery in itself. You have to understand how to emancipate yourself.
Mm,
Mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our mind. Then
yes.
Bob Marley went on to adapt it in his song.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the thing. How many of us can say, truly say, that they are fully emancipated? So I
Mm,
took on that word. I took on that word and I deep dive into what does that mean? What does that truly signifies and mean to be fully emancipated? And so in the book in itself, I talk about how we as human beings, if we don't understand how to break our own mental slavery,
mm,
at times we, not society, not system, I get all of that, never going to be remissive to the fact that those may not exist.
mm-hmm.
But when you are caught up by the projection of what's out there, you are keeping yourself in bondage. They're
Yes.
not, you are. And so I dive into that, and I talked about it in the second chapter of this book. I talked about
Mm-hmm.
spiritual warfare, the battles that I was going through, and people that were around me where their spirit did not align properly with godly principles.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you attach different energy to yours, you don't understand that at times you're
Yeah.
battling not just your energy, but so many
Woo.
different energies around you. So I dive into that. Living for society. I dive into that. And when I talked about living for society, one of the things I was very intentional about in that aspect was the Joneses. You grew up
Yeah.
hearing, we
Gotta
got
be
kids
like
with
the Joneses.
Joneses. and
Like,
to
who are these make-believe Joneses? Like, they were trying so hard to be like.
and so I always go, well, who the heck are the Joneses? Where are they? I want to meet them,
Right.
right? But it's these myths that
Mm,
is planted in our brain that
yes.
is embedded in us. And so when you get caught up, oh, I want to have this or this person, first of all, you don't know how they got it.
That's
I
right.
don't know if they stole it. Why
That's
do I
right.
want to measure myself up to
Mhm.
what Stephanie may have when I don't know how Stephanie got it? If
Right.
I need it, and I could work just as hard
Right.
for it, but that may not be what God want me to have.
That's right.
So that is also something that I touched on
Woo.
in the book, right? Living for society.
Mm.
I touched on inner circle, your inner circle.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's
Yes.
another big one in
Right.
this book that I am very, very, and I had to release a lot of people from my life.
Absolutely.
I'm very intentional in this journey with who I allow in my circle and what
Mhm.
do they represent and
Mm.
how they look. Am I better than anyone? Absolutely not. We're
Yeah.
not better than anyone. However, how I choose to move, how I choose to walk, how I
Mhm.
choose to talk, how I choose to show up
Yes.
is different.
Yeah.
Who
You
I
have to make
was.
sure that you're aligned, like your souls have to align and you have to share the same values and principles. And similar to what you said a little bit earlier, where, it was like you felt that there was something about that person's soul that it just wasn't connecting for you. And
Yes.
you know that. And so you have to shift those people outside of your circle so that only those who align are
Mhm.
in that inner circle.
Absolutely. And so I'm very intentional. In this book, I talked about healing and what does healing look like? Who are
Mhm.
you healing for? Right? Are you healing for
Ooh, that's
yourself or are
good.
you healing for everyone around you? And what does that healing transition consist of?
Mhm.
I did a part of the book when I talked about wealth management.
Mhm.
And I did this more so for my children because of what we had to teach them.
Mhm.
I wanted my kids to understand the importance of having money work for them not
Yes.
them working for money. And so much times in life, we, they went to both children are very successful. My daughter is finishing up law school right now, and my
Okay.
son just graduated college.
Oh,
I need them to understand what passive incomes look like.
yes.
I don't want you to show up to work just for a career or a job.
That's
I
right.
need for you to build and understanding that. So dive into wealth management a little bit, the things that school don't teach you.
That's right.
But it's my duty as your mother, as a
Mhm.
parent, and I give a lot more credit, more so for to my husband
Mhm.
on when it comes to the financial part of stuff, because he is. I always say that he's a mini Warren Buffett.
That's
Because
great.
he made sure that foundation for us was very solid. So I
Mhm.
have to give him his flowers when it comes to that. He made sure that our kids, Rich Dad Poor Dad was
Mm,
something that they had to read at a very young age.
I love that.
And every road trip, the local road trips that we would be on, there was a Dave Ramsey podcast that was playing over and
I
over
love
in
it.
the car.
I love it.
And
It's
so, looking back now, the kids growing up, they're like, oh, not another one. And now they're like, thank you, Dad.
yes. They can
Thank
see the
you.
value of what he was trying to teach them so early on. So it sounds like with your book, you touch on so many different principles, right?
Yes.
So many different what people don't realize can be cycles in their
Hmm.
life. And you're teaching everyone how one you did it, right?
Hmm.
Because everyone needs a blueprint, right? And if
Yes.
someone's able to do it and do it successfully, then you can try those same principles that they tried, or you can make it your own. But what you did was you take these various principles to show people how you can break from the
Yes.
negative patterns of behavior that have perpetuated where you might be in life today, how
Yes.
you break them so that you can literally live in that place of freedom, emancipation, right? But what I
Yes.
love is that you kind of talked about some of the steps that you had to take, which was first you said essentially you went back to your foundation, which was the Bible.
Yes.
And you had to then not relearn, but you had to now learn from a different lens,
Hmm.
right? By studying the word, not just reading it and saying, oh, this is a good book, but
Yeah.
studying the word to allow it to infiltrate your system so that you could then live from it, not just speak it as words, but truly live it in action. Then
Yes.
you said you were able to break the cycle first for yourself. I
Yes.
love that because sometimes so many people will say, well, I want to heal because I want my children to see what healing looks like. No, I want to heal because I need to know what healing looks like for me.
Hmm.
And that's what you had to do. You had to break the cycles for yourself first so that you could truly understand what does freedom look like, feel like, sound like, so that when I show up in a room, someone can see that because you
Yes.
can see freedom on a person, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you also talked about really studying what does emancipation look like because freedom for you might look different for someone else, but
Hmm.
when you are able to understand what it looks like for you,
Hmm.
that's when you can live in that place of freedom, of purpose, the place where God has destined you. And it sounds like that's what you were able to do, and you were able to break those cycles to reclaim your power after those painful things that you experienced in life.
Yeah.
So I want you to, if you were talking to woman or man, because you've made it clear that, these things are not just related to women,
Hmm.
men experience these traumas as well. If you had to leave them with three, maybe principles, or I don't want to call it advice, but three principles that
Hmm.
would help them along their journey of breaking cycles, what would those three things be?
First is the acceptance,
Mm, that's
understanding that you need help.
mhm,
You can't break cycle if you don't first acknowledge.
mhm.
that you're broken or need help.
Mhm.
And everyone brokenness is different,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So the first step is acknowledging.
Okay.
You have to be able to acknowledge. My second go to would be forgiveness.
Mhm.
And when I talk about forgiveness, a lot of times when we hear that word,
Mm.
people always go to, well, what am I forgiving them for?
Mm.
No. Mm-mm. I forgave them,
Yeah.
but here is what I had to do.
Mhm.
I had to forgive me first.
That's right. That's right.
And we tend to miss that
Mhm.
all the time. We tend to miss that piece. And I've had people, when I talk about it, people will say, well, why are you forgiving yourself? Are you kidding me?
It's necessary.
Here is why you need to forgive yourself.
Mhm.
I viewed myself on too many occasions to count
Mhm.
that I wasn't enough
Mhm.
or good enough.
Yeah. Mm.
And so it's not about the forgiveness of the person,
Yeah.
it's the forgiveness of yourself.
Mhm.
You know what I do now, Stephanie?
What's
When I
that?
wake up in the morning, which is kind of weird because I was just like, oh, she got to be in my head. But how would she know this to do a song about it? Because Mary J. Blige came out with that song where she said, good morning, gorgeous. I was
Mm.
doing that years ago.
Yeah.
I wake up and literally in my bathroom,
Mm.
I have words of affirmation because that's the
Yeah.
first place I go in the morning. And I have them on my mirror
Yeah.
that I would recite to myself until
Mhm.
they became believable. I would
Yes.
wake up and I would, there, I tell you, Post-its became my best friend.
Yes.
I was like, I should have taken out stock in it.
Yes.
Post-it became my best friend. I would wake up and I would say, my name is Tamara Melinda Hamil. I'm a
Mhm.
child of God. And there's affirmation that I would say. And in the beginning, I will honestly tell you,
Yeah.
I was doing it just to do it, but I told
Mhm.
myself I was going to be consistent until I start believing it.
That's right. Yes.
And when it start becoming believable, I was
Mhm.
just like, "Ooh,
Mhm.
girl,
Makes you
ooh,
feel
you're
different.
different." It was different. It was like
Yeah.
a light bulb, and I was just like, "Oh, I kind of like this."
Mhm.
I'll never forget the moment that my mood changed, and I
Mm.
was just like, "Oh, I love me." So I
Yes.
wake up every morning and I make love to me.
Woo.
And I say that, and people go, "You make love to you ill." And I said, "That's where your mind is going. I'm not into
Right.
that. I make love to me. I love on me.
Mm.
I I don't wait for my husband to say I
Right.
love you. I tell me I love me
That's
because I know
right.
that up here
Yeah.
loves me too.
That's right.
So if he loves me enough, how
Yeah.
do I show up and love me?
Mm.
So my second go to after you acknowledge
Mhm.
is forgiving you.
Yes.
It's not about forgiveness for the other person.
Yeah.
Learn to forgive you.
Yeah.
Know that you have a purpose and you are enough.
Absolutely.
You are
Woo.
enough. And my third go to would be, which you would think that this would be the first, but you can't have one or two without the third. I would say you have to build a spiritual foundation.
Mhm.
Everyone worship is different.
Yeah.
Everyone praise is different.
Mhm.
Whatever that praise or worship looks like for you, be consistent in building that foundation with
Yeah.
whoever that is for you. Mine is what my creator. I do believe in God, not
Yes.
a religious person, but
Mhm.
I'm a very spiritual person.
Yes. You
And
have a
so
relationship.
I have a relationship with God.
Mhm. Yes.
Those are going to be my three go-to is acknowledge, forgiveness of self,
Yeah.
and your foundation with
Foundation.
whoever your spiritual being is.
I love that. And I have valued this conversation because it's necessary. There are so many people who are walking around in that broken place, who are walking around in caught up in pain and trauma and don't know how to get on the path to healing. And so you being able to give some steps and you being able to encourage them with some counsel, guidance around some of the things that they can do is going to literally change the path that someone's life goes on.
Yeah.
And I pray that as people watch this podcast, as people listen to the podcast, that they will, one, purchase the book. And so we'll be sharing where they can purchase the book. Also, be able to follow Tamara on social media as well, to be able to stay up to date with what she's doing, what she has going on, because you just never know. There might be that opportunity where she's sharing something and it's literally the spark that you needed to be able to get on the path to your own healing. And I want people to know healing is a journey. It's a journey. It is not a one-stop shop, right? Where it's like, oh, I got healed and I'm good. No, it's continuous. We will be in a state of healing until the day we leave this earth.
Mhm.
And we have to be thoughtful, we have to be mindful, and we have to be intentional about the things that we need to do in order to heal. Because when you don't heal, you just bleed on everything and everyone around you. And
Yes.
so I I just got that visual of when the stuff started coming out of your nose, right? It can be like that, where you are walking around with so much trauma, so much pain, and when you least expect it, it will pour out on everything and everyone around you until you get it addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so while going through the brain surgery, two brain surgeries, was definitely not something that was fun, not something that you would have wanted to do, it was also a gateway for you to be able to rectify some of the things that had happened to you at 9 years old, come to terms with them so that you could forgive your stepmother and those who were involved in trying to fix the situation, but also get you to a place of your physical healing so that you didn't have to live with the manifestation, the physical manifestation of a trauma from 9 years old.
Yeah.
So I want you to, let's see. First, I want you to share a little bit about your platform. What are some of the things that you have upcoming, and how can individuals purchase your first and your second book?
Thank you. So my first book is on, and the second will be. My book is being released on August the 24th. I'm
Okay.
very intentional, so I'm releasing it on my birthday this
All
year.
right. Happy early birthday.
Thank you. But it will be on all major retailers,
Okay.
including Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, even Walmart.
Okay.
I self published
Mhm.
because I refuse to give my rights to anyone. And my first book right now is being looked at as a movie deal, which
Excellent.
I am being very intentional if I really want that to go through.
Mm.
There's quite a few people who has my first book, including Oprah. She
All
has a
right.
couple. Um, but it's on all major retailers.
Okay.
I self-published through Lulu Publishing, book publishing, and so it's on Lulu as well as, like I said, Amazon and Barnes and Noble. The second book will be the same platform, all 12
Okay.
major retailers as well. I am on TikTok. I'm in the middle currently building my website, which is
Okay.
under construction
Okay.
right now. So that will be released early September, is what
Okay.
I'm aiming for, where, we'll have the communication of where everything is being housed and
Okay.
so forth. And then also on Instagram
Okay.
as well. And so people will be able to follow me. I don't do Facebook. My kids are telling me that okay, you need to promote and do all of these different things. I do have a Facebook account, but
Mhm.
it's not open up to the public
Okay.
itself. And so I tried to left Facebook 4 years ago, to be honest, because it was not being used for the proper reasons, and I
Mhm.
didn't want to get caught up. And I was on my healing journey and this book and so forth. So anything that does not drive with my spirit, my
Mhm.
mental state, I try to remove myself away from. But with my book in itself, I do know that I have to open up as much
Yeah, you do. You got to
as
put yourself out
possible.
there.
Yeah, you gotta put yourself out there. I am also on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn page is public, so I am also on LinkedIn as well.
Mhm.
People should be able to find me, be able to look up my name and find me.
Okay. What's your handle on IG and TikTok? Is it just at Tamara M Hamil or
So no, it's not. I'm actually looking to update that.
okay.
Well, on TikTok, I am gonna update it to Tamara Hamil.
Okay.
So,
No
because
M.
so yeah, no M. It will just be Tamara Hamels. My son actually told me that this morning earlier.
Okay.
He said, "Mom, you need to change all your names and handles." So
Yes.
I will update it on TikTok, and then on Instagram, it will be changed to Tamara Hamel as well.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So we'll run that across the screen so that folks can see that. It's going to just be your name,
Mhm.
Tamarahamil.
Yes.
Okay. So TikTok and Instagram at Tamara Hamil, Tamara Hamil. So you'll be able to find her there. And you can also find her on LinkedIn as well, under her name. I
Mhm.
definitely encourage you all to follow Tamara to be able to learn more about her story. I'm sure through TikTok, you're sharing those videos, those encouraging words to help spark conversation about healing and breaking cycles, how people can reclaim their power after pain. So we want to make sure that folks are staying connected with you. You're going to have your website up soon as well in September. Is that also going to just be under your name?
Yes.
Okay, so tamarahamil.com.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. We love it when everything is all the same.
Yes.
That
I
makes
try
it
to be
easy.
consistent for sure.
Yes,
Yes.
that makes it easy for people to find you. And
Mhm.
so, Tamara, this has been amazing. Thank you for the courage to share your story. It is not always easy. And especially, like you said in the book, you share pictures. That can't be easy because pictures are always a reminder,
Mhm.
whether of something good or something bad. And so, in this case, I want to say for you is twofold because you have an opportunity to look back at those pictures and see where you are today. That woman who was on that operating table, in so many ways, she had to cease to exist in order for you, as this version of Tamara, to be able to exist. And
Yes.
so we are grateful that you let that part of you go
Yeah.
and you were able to step into this place of true freedom, true emancipation, and reclaim your power after your pain because you chose to break cycles and you're going to teach others how to do the same as well. So we just commend you. We applaud you and we just pray God's greatest favor over you, his blessings to shine upon you, to continue to bless you and your family, that your children and your children's children will be blessed because of your courage to break cycles, that they never have to live under the curses of those cycles because you broke them in
Yes.
order for them to live free. So we thank you for that. And we pray and encourage others to do the same, not just for yourselves, but also for your bloodline as well. So thank you, Tamara, for being with us.
Yeah.
For
Thank you
gracing
so
story,
much.
Stephanie. Oh, we
It was,
appreciate you
it was
so
an
much.
honor. It was an honor. It was an honor. And it's an honor and it was a journey, but stay
Mm,
consistent in that journey because it can be done. I tell people in
absolutely.
life that nothing in life's limits you. You're
Yeah,
your own limitation.
that's
There's
right.
two things in life that is guaranteed. and that's paying taxes and death.
Yes.
There's also two things in life no one can ever take away from
Right.
you, and
Mm,
that's your dream
mm.
and your education. Those
That's
are
right.
the only two things. They could take your life, but they
Mm,
can never take your dream and your education.
that's right.
So consistency is key, but understand at the end of the day, you're your only limitation. No
Ooh.
one can limit you.
No one can limit you. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Tamara. It was a pleasure having you. Everyone go out and support her, purchase her books, both of them, and continue to follow her journey because she has so much more to share. So thank you so much for being with us, Tamara. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we love you.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you. God bless.
Oh, this was another amazing episode. And as you all can see, I was taking notes because I love to be inspired by our guests and be able to share something that resonated with me so that it's able to help you as well. And one of the taglines for Tamara's book says, "You were never meant to stay broken." And I love that. We are meant to live healed, whole, and healthy. And so by acknowledging and understanding that you need help, by forgiving yourself, and by building a spiritual foundation. Those three things, according to Tamara, are going to set you on the pathway to being able to break those cycles so that you can reclaim your power after pain. So, thank you so much for being here with us on season 8 of Storytime with Stephanie. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storytime with Stephanie. If you're an independent author and you'd like to be a guest on our show, email us at info@stephanieouten.com with your name, the name of your book, and why you believe you should be a part of our show. Also, if you'd like to support our show by sponsoring an ad, you too can email us at info@stephanieouten.com for more information. We'll see you next time.